Dawn breaks over a vast East African grassland, casting long, sharp shadows across the dry, whistling thorn. You are looking at a landscape that appears empty, yet it is deeply written. A heavy, armored shape moves through the low mist, its prehensile upper lip reaching for an acacia branch. This solitary creature is navigating a complex web of unseen boundaries. Understanding the black rhino conservation status requires looking beyond the immediate threats of poaching. You must look at how this ancient animal understands space. Every path it takes is deliberate. Every thicket it avoids has a purpose. What you are watching is not a random wanderer, but a cartographer reading an invisible map. The survival of this entire species depends on a silent chemical dialogue written across the dirt, a dialogue we are only beginning to decode. It is easy to view this creature as a relic of the past, a dim-witted giant relying solely on brute force. Your eyes see a short-sighted animal that charges at shadows and lives in perpetual isolation. This perspective is incomplete. The black rhinoceros does not view the savanna through sight, but through a highly developed sense of place. Its solitude is not a lack of social capability, but a highly sophisticated evolutionary strategy. When a territory is disrupted, the animal does not simply move next door. It loses its connection to the landscape entirely. To understand why this species struggles to recover, we must understand the mental grid they overlay onto the wilderness. A single displacement sets off a chain reaction through the ecosystem, revealing a delicate vulnerability hidden beneath thousands of pounds of skin and bone. How does an animal with notoriously poor eyesight manage a territory spanning dozens of square kilometers? The answer lies in a complex system of communal dung heaps known as middens. A comprehensive study by Save the Rhino International, published in 2018, mapped these locations across several key sanctuaries. These are not mere waste sites. They are the communication hubs of the savanna. When the rhino in front of you approaches a midden, its scent receptors process an immense amount of biological data. It detects the age, sex, health, and reproductive status of every individual that has passed by. It knows exactly who belongs in the area and who is a trespasser. This chemical ledger allows solitary animals to maintain a strict social distance without ever needing to confront one another directly, minimizing energy expenditure. The precision of this map is extraordinary. Research from the Frankfurt Zoological Society in 2021 demonstrated that black rhinos can identify the unique scent profile of more than 20 distinct neighbors. They memorize the exact placement of these scent posts across their entire home range. Your perspective shifts when you realize this territory is a living database. The animal knows every waterhole, every seasonal wallow, and every dense thicket suitable for midday shade. It calculates its movements based on the shifting patterns of its neighbors. It is a fragile equilibrium built on mutual avoidance. But this ancient system relies on a crucial factor that is rapidly vanishing: unbroken space. When these cognitive maps are split by human infrastructure, the unseen boundaries collapse, forcing these intensely territorial creatures into fatal territorial conflicts. Consider the immense scale of this spatial memory. A single black rhino carries a perfect geographical layout of its habitat within its mind for decades. A long-term behavioral study published in the African Journal of Ecology in 2015 monitored displaced individuals in South Africa. The results were startling. When moved to unfamiliar territory, rhinos exhibited extreme physiological stress, refusing to settle for months. Without their established mental map, they cannot locate optimal food sources or secure reliable cover. They become disoriented in a landscape that looks identical to human eyes, but reads like gibberish to their senses. This reveals that habitat loss is not just a loss of physical acres, it is the destruction of an animal's cognitive reality, a psychological displacement that severely impairs their reproductive success and long-term survival. Every step this creature takes alters the physical structure of the biome. The black rhino is a keystone mega herbivore, a selective browser whose feeding habits shape the entire plant community. By consuming specific woody plants, they prevent a single species of acacia from dominating the landscape. This creates open spaces that allow sunlight to reach the ground, promoting the growth of diverse grasses. Pattern interrupt, counterintuitive reversal. You might think removing a single browser would allow the flora to thrive. In reality, the absence of the black rhino leads to a rapid homogenization of the savanna. According to a landmark paper in Biological Conservation in 2019, areas where rhinos disappeared saw a significant decline in smaller herbivore diversity, such as impala and bushbuck, who rely on the specific microhabitats the rhino inadvertently creates.
The network goes deeper, connecting the rhino to the smallest organisms. Its heavy footprints compress the soil, creating microdepressions that retain moisture long after the seasonal rains stop. These tiny pools become critical breeding grounds for various amphibians and insects. The birds you see riding on its back, the red-billed oxpeckers, depend entirely on the rhino for food, consuming ticks and parasites from its thick hide. The oxpecker, in turn, acts as the rhino's alarm system, emitting sharp cries when predators or humans approach. It is a perfect reciprocal loop. A study from the University of Utah in 2020 confirmed that rhinos with oxpeckers detected human approach from more than 3 times the distance of those without. The individual animal is a walking ecosystem, an anchor holding a larger biological community together. The loss of this species is the erasure of an ancient ecological intellect. For millions of years, the black rhino has refined its relationship with the African continent. It has survived dramatic climate shifts, volcanic upheavals, and the rise of modern predators. Yet its evolutionary toolkit did not prepare it for the speed of modern fragmentation. When we look at a rhino, we are looking at an evolutionary masterpiece that has suddenly run out of room. Conservation efforts are now forcing a shift in how we manage these landscapes. Organizations like Save the Rhino International are focusing heavily on establishing secure wildlife corridors. These corridors are not just physical paths, they are the restoration of the rhino's ability to safely expand its mental map, reconnecting fragmented populations and ensuring genetic diversity survives into the next century. This brings us to a deeper truth about the natural world. No creature exists in a vacuum. The solitary nature of the black rhino is an illusion. It is bound to the land, to the vegetation, and to its unseen neighbors by a web of chemical signals and evolutionary pacts. When a population diminishes, the entire ecosystem loses its rhythm. The tracks fade, the acacia thickets overgrow, the micropools dry up. What we lose is not just an iconic silhouette against the sunset, but a profound way of being. The intelligence of nature is often quiet, written in scent marks on a dirt path, or the warning call of a small bird. Protecting the rhino is an act of preserving a complex, non-human understanding of space and time. Think back to the classic documentaries of your youth, where the savanna was portrayed as an eternal, unchanging theater of wildlife. You now see that this theater is incredibly dynamic and precarious. Your eyes return to the morning scene. The mist is burning off under the rising African sun. The black rhino you are watching moves with an intentionality that you now recognize. It approaches a low bush, pauses, and inhales deeply. It is reading the morning news of the valley. It steps forward, its massive feet pressing into the red dust, leaving behind another deep impression that will hold the next rain. It is not a primitive beast wandering blindly. It is a master keeper of the savanna, executing a complex ecological role with every single stride. The landscape is no longer just a backdrop for a safari. It is a living ledger, a system of profound interdependences, where the presence of a single individual stabilizes the whole. When you look at the black rhino now, You do not just see its immense horn or its ancient armor, you see its mind. You see the invisible map it has spent its life creating and maintaining. The tragedy of its decline is the silence that follows when these maps are permanently erased. But as long as these paths remain open, the dialogue continues. The savanna retains its ancient structure, held together by the quiet, steady presence of its oldest resident, navigating a world it knows by heart.
The silent strategies of the savanna extend far beyond the territorial boundaries of its solitary giants. While the rhino maps the land through scent, other species rely on an entirely different sensory network to survive the harsh African wilderness. Deep within the shadows of the old-growth forests, another creature uses a map built not on territory, but on memory and profound social bonds. In our next video, we will explore the hidden matriarchies of the Ambocelli, where ancient memories dictate the survival of an entire lineage. Click the video on your screen right now to uncover how the oldest elephants carry the history of the landscape in their minds, and how a single decision can save a herd from starvation. Thank you for watching.